Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Ken Loach's Kes from 1969. So yes, here we are back again, and this time a very interesting film here, and yes, a British film, kind of part of this very much part of the kind of British New Wave. It's one of the last, although some would debate the dates there in comes, and would maybe not consider this part of this New Wave. I think it's one of the last films really, if you will, of this kind of phase, and very interesting film here. Ken Loach, of course, and yes, I wanted to kind of explore more kind of, I suppose, pure British films, on the channel more this year, and going forward, of course. And yes, of course, I want to explore all of this director's work, and other directors as well, in this vein. But of course, we must say, spoilers alert. If you haven't seen this film, I will be getting into the ending, etc., and different points, in the plot. So if you haven't seen it, watch it first, and then, preferably, come back to this review. And as we always say, if you want, you can leave your thoughts in the comments once you've kind of seen the film, of course. So yes, with that said, this is such an interesting film here, and it's a very loved film. Although some are not too keen on it. But yeah, it's kind of this one of the last films, as I've said, of this kind of British New Wave. Considered by many to be at least one of the last films of this kind of phase. And yes, it's a very interesting film here, of course. Masters of Cinema. This is here it is. I watched this again the other night, Thursday night, and I first saw this in 2017, and yeah, this Blu-ray here, Masters of Cinema, spine number 151, I believe, yes it is, and yeah, just, oh wow, what a film here, and yeah, I think this is actually one of the first that I actually acquired of the Masters of Cinema kind of edition here, and actually, believe it or not, this is the first film that I watched, kind of Masters of Cinema film that I watched on the Blu-ray. So very significant there, and yes, it was just a very magical experience, really. The first of this kind of this edition. I've got a few Masters of Cinema Blu-rays now, and yes, this is the first one, as I say, that I watched here, and it's just when I first saw it, I was blown away, literally. The only thing maybe perhaps I was a bit unsure of in that sense was the ending, the exact, the actual ending itself. Maybe I found, it kind of surprised me. Let's just say that, kind of, I thought it'd be a bit more where it wasn't. But of course, on the rewatch, everything's really enhanced as always, and I think even the ending now, I've really come to kind of see a little bit differently. But this is such a stunning film. I'd recommend this to anyone, of course, and especially if you're interested in British films. This is just really something else. Of course, it is voted as at times as one of the kind of 10 best. I've seen it, British films, and yeah, I can understand. This film is just stunning. It really is, and when I first saw this, it's just it's such a kind of I'd heard it being a gritty film, of course, very dark film, but actually I was very surprised, and even more so once again on how how beautiful this film is. How kind of dreamlike it is actually, and even though it's a dark film, it's kind of a very gritty, kind of really kind of maybe documentary esque film at times. At the same time, it's very dreamlike. It's very kind of fantastical, and it's very poetic actually. And it's got these fleeting moments, I think, of hope. And yes, the humour to this film. There's so much funny moments. I feel a very humorous film. Despite it being very dark, every act really has got kind of quite a few moments that are just kind of very humorous here, and it's very much a kind of balance here, a wonderful balance of this kind of dark, kind of hard edge feeling with this kind of innocence, this charm, and I really love the film for that. It seems like it's a very interesting blend of this fantasy and realism, I feel, and just seeing perhaps the world through this kind of 15-year-old's eyes, and he, of course, yes, this main character, of course, of Billy Casper. I think a lot of the humour comes from this, kind of this protagonist, of course, this performance by David Bradley, and it really is something else. I think just a stunning performance here by David Bradley, and of course, yes, playing this character of Billy, and or referred to simply as Casper in the film. And yes, this young 15-year-old, of course, growing up in Yorkshire, and yes, just showing the kind of the tough life that it is, and just at the same time just this wonderful coming of age film, and kind of it's got its hope in there. It's got the moments of kind of different friendships that form, and of course Kes, or the Kestrel, of course, that Billy, kind of stumbles upon in this very, very, kind of funny scene as well, but such a memorable one. When I first saw this, that's one of the kind of the scenes that stuck in my mind. Is of course him climbing that kind of ruin there, that tower, and finding this Kestrel, and yes, that's why it's called Kes. That's what he names this Kestrel. Simply Kes, and it's about the kind of this relationship, of course, with this, yes, between this this character Billy and his Kestrel that he trains, that he kind of cares for, and looks after, throughout the film, and yes, just really seeing this kind of this intrigue, this passion that he has for this Kestrel, and I think just amidst all this kind of maybe this kind of hopelessness, of the system, perhaps, the education system, and this kind of lifestyle, and his family life. Amidst all that, you've got this kind of this real kind of the shining kind of element of just him, the passion that he shows and the care that he shows towards his Kestrel, and just from that, we see different interactions with different characters as well. It really is, it's something else, this film, and of course Freddie Fletcher playing the brother of Judd, and this is just very, very sad film at times as well. His brother treats him very, very poorly. A horrible character, of course, and really he is kind of you could say a villain in the film. But again, this is a very, very interesting film, a very, very complex film. Ken Loach, the level of humanity in this film is quite staggering. I really think the way he kind of gives all these characters complexity, and this humanity, it really is something else. And I think really all these characters are so fleshed out, and even the kind of minor characters that you see are so kind of authentic. It really just works so well for this narrative, and just all these different interactions as well. Mr. Sugden, this PE teacher, of course, played by Brian Glover. He really is a standout in this film, and of course you've got the famous football scene here, and it really is something else. I think that is one of my favourite scenes in the film, really, and it's kind of around 10 minutes or so in the kind of centre of the film, really, middle of the film, and it's this wonderful hilarious kind of sequence here, and of course he's this character who again is a kind of a horrible character in the way he treats everyone, but it's just this moment here where it kind of brings out the kind of really him kind of living this dream, this fantasy, through this football match, at school and stuff, and just the way he kind of wants to be, like a footballer, of course, and just seeing this, play out, his different lines, of course, and the way he really takes it so seriously. This kind of just basic match here at school, of course, in the kind of on the field there, and you actually see as well the tally, the different scores, the two teams, of course, that they pretend to be kind of playing for here. It's just really hilarious sequence, and it's just this whole kind of sequence here. It's one of the funniest moments, really, in a film that I've seen in a while, and just seeing again this character, and afterwards as well, in the kind of the sequences after that, there immediately after, again, the comedy in this film is so kind of I feel so kind of authentic. It's never overplayed. It just feels very, very natural. This is one of the most authentic British films, really, and I can say it's very, very relatable. These scenes throughout the film, especially in the school, of course, and just seeing these teachers, different teachers in the film, very, very realistic, and definitely in my experience in the UK, very, very authentic here, and it's just so funny to see, and relatable, and of course, and yes, just this film is so it's so natural. This one, but again, I did say this is very very poetic, and it's got this kind of dreamlike quality actually, and I think the way the film's shot really is it plays a hand in that. It's got some of the most interesting cinematography that I've seen in a British film, and I think kind of these shots, of course, lingering shots, perhaps of these kestrels actually, that moment there, that's a real standout moment. It's just very, very kind of escapist moment, I feel, and I think in tune really with this character, Billy, of course, Casper, kind of the way in which this is kind of an escapist scenario for him, and the way he finds something in looking after this kestrel that really allows him to kind of escape from his misery, perhaps his suffering, and really just this hope within this kind of this tale of this boy and his kestrel and everything that surrounds it. It really is such a moving film, and of course Colin Welland, playing Mr. Farthing, really a standout kind of character here, a standout performance. This is just such a kind of the real warmth, the true kind of heart of the film, perhaps, is one of the real things here that shows. I think Mr. Farthing is one of the characters really that brings this kind of the warmth to the film, and this relationship, really, this whole kind of scenario, part of this narrative. I think it kind of kicks in a little bit later, in the film, but nevertheless, it's one of the most memorable kind of aspects, I feel, and just the way he kind of sticks up for Billy, and just brings out these different the conversations, kind of really makes Billy think and contemplate, and maybe look to the future, perhaps what he's gonna do, and it's a real such a kind of very very strange but I think authentic way in which it plays out with Billy, in terms of the education system, and because you've got that whole kind of career, advisor kind of sequence there, very near the end of the film, and it doesn't kind of come together in a way in which many films would. It's very much such a realistic kind of sequence there, and the way it kind of ends for Billy. You don't find out certain things that happen later on. You don't kind of get this kind of closure, perhaps. It really just is him definitely dismissing the whole kind of idea of this, and what he wants to do. He's not in that sense interested, just like a lot of kids, if they're 15 or so, a lot of people don't know, in this kind of sense. So very very realistic, such a kind of one of the most realistic kind of authentic scenes, of this kind of aspect of life that I've seen actually ever, and I really commend Ken Loach for this, and David Bradley, just the whole kind of way in which Ken Loach clearly has kind of brought out these authentic, rich performances, while at the same time it's such a compelling film throughout. It's not, it's got this wonderful balance, I feel, this gritty realism, with this real cinematic way, and it's such a compelling narrative. It's such a kind of a film to get lost in the kind of beauty of it, despite being very dark, maybe you would say hopeless, kind of gritty tale. There is a lot of hope in there, I feel, and a lot of kind of fantastical qualities here. The dreamlike effect, the cinematography is very very unique, and I love the way in which as well Ken Loach kind of cuts to different maybe background characters, maybe a close-up of different characters, and it kind of invests me even more in this sense on this occasion. You're kind of getting these different maybe random characters, but kind of getting their perspective, and just getting lost in this. Very very authentic here, and I think the way in which he's kind of placed these different moments throughout the film adds to such a kind of flawless maneuver here. I think very very unique, very risky direction at times, but really by the end of the film, despite a very very interesting ending, we'll talk about the ending now. I think the way in which, of course, Judd, the brother, of course, who's been throughout the entire film, this kind of villain, perhaps, this abusive brother, no doubt, but of course, we learn very close to the end of the film that he's the one that's tragically killed this kestrel, Billy, and he's, of of course, his reaction and all this, leads to the kind of final scenes of the film, and him running home. Of course, Judd, doing this despicable thing, and then we get, of course, the mother as well, and her reaction, and then of course it ends with Billy just basically holding this kestrel and kind of burying the kestrel there. When I first saw this kind of ending here, I was very unsure, maybe left a little bit cold perhaps, in that sense, because maybe I thought there wasn't quite enough of kind of an emotional payoff here. The reactions, of course. And yes, just the way it kind of ends, and kind of just, you could say it kind of cuts off in that sense, or just kind of just ends, in that sense, during a kind of pivotal scene. There isn't as much emotion as maybe one would kind of predict, perhaps. But yeah, I think seeing it again, the ending has grown on me. I don't think I can dock marks off for that ending. Although I must say it's not one of my favourite endings. It's not, for me, one of the best endings that I've seen. But I think it ends in a way that does, kind of stay true to this, perhaps this story, this narrative. I would have liked maybe more emotion there, but that's just the kind of a thing that it would have maybe been a little bit high on my list if it had that kind of thing. But I don't think it's necessarily flaw of the film. It's just a very very bold way to end a film, and yes, I think such a tragedy, this film. That's the thing. It's a real tragic tale, in many regards, but again, it has got hope in there, and I think it has got this kind of celebration, of life, these fleeting moments, this kind of the case of Billy and this Kestrel, of course, Kez, the title of the film. This relationship, is one such kind of element here that's just amidst all this kind of darkness, this kind of despair, this hopelessness of this kind of this life, this kind of yes, this scenario, of course. I think this is a real standout kind of moment that just shows the kind of the beauty of life, amidst the kind of the cruelty, perhaps the suffering, and I think this juxtaposition is really so powerful. This film really is, and I think overall this is definitely for me a masterpiece. I can't deny that. I personally feel that again, it's not perhaps one of my kind of absolute favourite films. It has, of course, as well got an ending that I'm kind of it's definitely an ending. It's not one of my favourite endings. It's not one of the best endings that I've seen personally. But that's just that's just the way it is. I think this really is a masterpiece in the way it really is just a pure film. This, and one that really kind of is so consistent. It's so kind of true to itself and to life. I feel it really is a wonderful capturing of just this kind of tale, and this lifestyle as well, and Yorkshire, of course, and the mining life as well. That's kind of tapped into in the film, particularly with Judd, the character there, Freddie Fletcher, of course, playing, as I've said. But I think it's got a lot of things going on here. Showing this these themes, economically as well, socially, and it's just a really such a kind of complete film in that sense. Many themes that are tied in wonderfully to this simple, very simple tale, and pure tale, poetic tale of this friendship, this kind of this real kind of passion. The one thing in the film that Billy really is kind of keen to learn more about, and the sense of wonder that is kind of portrayed, through this particular kind of relationship between this boy and this Kestrel, really is wonderful to see, and I love the way Ken Loach captures these different moments, and perhaps just simply, of course, Billy going through the woods, at the beginning of the film, and different moments in the film, really truly wonderful. I really loved the way this was done, and of course the music, of course, really is something else, and yes, John Cameron, working on the score here. This is a wonderful score, really is, and just a beautiful kind of peaceful and really kind of subtle score here, and I think the way it's used in the film, is very much at the right moments to elevate this film. I think and the kind of mystical feeling that it has. It's really down to the score as well. It's a real key score in the way it's used in the film, and I think, yes, I really have no flaws with this film. I love it. I really, really do. I think it's an absolute masterpiece, really from the get-go, and very, very kind of gradual, perhaps, first act. But of course, the film opens up as it goes along, and all these different characters, even just simply the kind of the individual in the street there, the kind of the man there. I don't think he's got a name in the film, but he meets Billy, and he just simply talks to him about his kestrel, and just this conversation here. It's not kind of a close up or anything. It's just kind of from the back you see this, and you see this kind of maybe perhaps amidst all this crowd here, going through in the streets, and just kind of zoned in on perhaps this conversation here. It's very, very unique the way he's done this. Maybe kind of documentary style there. These are such moments that really, really feel very unique here, very authentic, and the way in which this conversation is captured. It's not a film, that has a lot of kind of theatrical scenes or anything. It's a real kind of gritty, real authentic, particular British film here, and I think this conversation is one such example. I just love this kind of the way in which this style throughout the entire film, and this kind of variety actually of different techniques here is really, really stunning, and the editing. Throughout the entire film, it really is something else, something to behold. It really is a mastery, filmmaking techniques, and Ken Loach really, telling the story with such kind of sincerity. That's the thing. It's a sincere picture here. It's a pure film. It's not a film that kind of compromises. It really tells a honest, tale, and one that's got dark moments, and it's got its moments of hope. Light moments, of course. Moments that kind of uplift, at least through my experience of the film, and has got very, perhaps kind of hopeless ending in what happens, of course. But throughout the film, you learn so much about life. It's kind of this coming of age film, as I've said, that really is just so well balanced and so kind of true to life, and it's not a film that is fully kind of uplifting in the way it comes together at all. No, but it's just simply displaying this kind of this arc, and it's not being judgmental, not being kind of insincere, and I really love this film. From start to finish, it really is a stunning film to behold, and just simply a masterpiece in my opinion. This is a wonderful film, and of course, as I said, I've only seen one other Ken Loach film, and that is I, Daniel Blake, which blew me away as well. Perhaps just as kind of, or just as much on the level, of this film, this film's status here, but very, very different, and very much completely different kind of theme going on in that film. But again, it's just kind of this way in which Ken Loach makes such kind of relatable, protagonists or characters that you kind of get behind and see their kind of point of view. Very, very much personal filmmaking here, and at the same time, big scope. These films that I've seen of him, and real kind of beauty, in the humanity that is shown in this kind of these films, and I can't wait to see more Ken Loach films. He's done many films, and all of them are kind of talked about, perhaps. So perhaps I will go through most of his films at least, and review them on the channel. Perhaps that should be very, very interesting. But not one of these immediate kind of director series, like I did with Stanley Kubrick, anything like that. But I think, it's just over time, it'd be very nice, maybe perhaps to kind of review his films, and of course continue my journey, more kind of seeing more British films, and this is a stunning masterwork, and for me, it really is just among the kind of the most interesting British films, certainly, and kind of part of this very, very very, very interesting, of course, period of kind of this British New Wave, and as I say, this is one of the last kind of significant kind of films of this kind of phase, if you will, and very, very interesting, and yes, can't wait to see more of this kind of phase. And yes, of course, Kes, yes, a wonderful film, a masterwork in my opinion. As I say, I really have no flaws with this film. Again, not one of my favourite endings, but it's not a film, that I'll dock the marks off for that, because it really does. It does, is a powerful sequence, no doubt, and it's very emotional. Definitely, a really realised ending in the kind of vein, of this film, and the kind of way that the film's going. So yes, overall, taking everything into account, this film is a real masterpiece, one that really I have no flaws with. There's nothing that detracts from this, this flow, this kind of consistency in the investment, to the picture. You've got some wonderful moments, in this film that really truly uplifting, but again, it's a real dark, kind of gritty film, and I love the combination. I really, really do, and I think the sincerity of the picture, really is staggering. It really, really is an honest, true to life film, and yeah, it's just a humorous film, and also a sad one, a real sad, tale. This, but yes, taking everything into account, and even though the ending, as I've said, is not one of my favourite endings, perhaps, I think this film really is stunning, and yes, my rating is 100%. Yes, indeed. I really do think that. I think it's an absolute masterpiece of cinema that everyone should watch. Just to check it out at least, and see what you think of the film. Of course, everyone will have different reactions, of course, but I really do think personally that this film is a masterpiece of cinema, of course. And yes, this is just wow. Really is something else, and I think the way I related to the character, of Billy, of course, Billy Casper, it really was something else. The way in which this character is displayed on screen, and the way he's really this clumsy character, perhaps, this kind of bumbling character. I think the way in which he really, there's a lot of sympathy for him, throughout the film. I think really, truly a sympathetic character, one that I'm constantly, invested in. His narrative, the way this film is shot, the editing, the direction overall, truly is something else. And I think masterful direction. Never for a moment, it's Ken Loach, kind of out of, not out of his depth, but really, he's always in control, of this film. I think the way he kind of brings out the emotions, of this character, perhaps, and all the different themes, that he's exploring very, very subtly, very much, kind of, weaving his way through this kind of, splendor of different themes that are kind of displayed and brought up. Never is really a focus on one such theme, other than the main central, human tale, friendship, relationship between this boy and this Kestrel, of course, Kes, and yes, just a truly wonderful film that really moves me, to tears at moments. Really, really is just a stunning film. Of course, I think you should check it out and see what you think for yourselves, because my review, of course, won't do the film justice in that sense. I can't really describe certain moments. It's very, 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 very subtle as well, and one that's just really, yes, leaves you with this kind of left me with this state of kind of mixed emotions. The sadness of it, of course, the tragedy, and the finality. I think actually of this story, this tale, but at the same time, these different moments you look back on, these humorous moments, and these wonderful warm moments, perhaps with, of course, these different characters that Billy meets, and yes, perhaps these moments, with Kes, of course, the Kestrel, and training her, and just really, really wonderful, uplifting moments. This is a magical experience at times. It really, really is. And I think this combination is very unique, and simply put, masterful. It really, really is. I think this is a mind-blowing film, one that really creeps up on you, but from the get-go, just really, I was in awe of these different, these landscape shots, perhaps, and these wonderful human moments. Really beautiful, beautiful film. This a real, poetic film, I feel, and yeah, it's just a wonderful experience. Once again, this film has grown on me even more, and it really stuck with me. I feel when I first watched this a few years ago, but it really definitely is a film that I kind of love even more. On this rewatch, and yeah, it's just kind of seeing how I feel more about the ending, perhaps, and the initial kind of confusion, perhaps, and yeah, I think really the ending even is just it's a stunning ending. Not one of my absolute favourites or anything, and yeah, maybe it would have been interesting to see a little bit more. Not closure, but yeah, maybe a bit different of an ending there. But perhaps that's just simply me wanting something that maybe wouldn't have happened, in kind of in this sense, the nature of this tale here. So yeah, a wonderful film, really, a flawless masterpiece, in my opinion. Yes. Tell me your thoughts on this film. Of course, I recommend checking this out on Blu-ray here, Master of Cinema, and yes, tell me what you think of Kes, regardless of how you watch this film, perhaps. And yeah, it's just really a magical film, and also a very, very bleak, harrowing film. But it's a film that, yes, I really do find it very uplifting and very, very moving. Definitely, I think consistently this film is just it really is staggering. It's very, very personal, particular tale. These wonderful little human relationships in the film, these moments, and these big themes as well, these macro themes, and kind of tapping into the education system, and just yes, what happens after that as well, perhaps hinted at in the film, and yeah, just wonderful film here, exploring the family life as well, and the kind of the way in which Billy, is kind of it kind of suffers these kind of hardships, at school, at home, and the hints of him suffering, perhaps kind of that will be in some way, perhaps immediately following once he leaves school. So it's a very bleak film at times, but again, the way in which this is done, I think it really is just a human film, and quite an uplifting one at times as well. I really think it's a wonderful achievement, and yes, that's my opinion, of course. Tell me your thoughts. As I say, this is a film that's going to be very interesting to talk about, in the comments, and yeah, just a wonderful film that I'd recommend, of course. And yes, a masterpiece in my eyes. So yes, I look forward to watching more British films as we go forward, particularly, and yes, even more than I have been maybe perhaps in the past reviewing on the channel. I really look forward to delving more perhaps into Ken Loach's work, and different directors, similar directors perhaps, of course, and Lindsay Anderson being one, of course the film behind me. If there's another film that I watched very, very recently for the first time, that was, and yes, it's a film that really blew me away. So again, Lindsay Anderson, another director in this vein that I really want to explore, really all of his films as well. But yes, of course, tell me your thoughts. How does this rank, perhaps, among your favourite British films? What you think of the characters in the film, the different intriguing themes, and the way this film's captured, perhaps all these different elements to this really layered film. It'd be great to discuss, regardless of how you watch this film, of course. My personal opinion is this is a masterpiece, and it'd be great to discuss with you viewers. As always, it's always great, and I look forward to discussing this film and discussing more British films. As I say, I really can't wait to kind of delve further, especially into Ken Loach's films. Speaking on this film here, so yes. Kes, a really wonderful achievement in my opinion, and yes, as always, of course, take care, please take care, and yes, thanks for watching.